I was scrolling and I saw this thread, and the kid wrote that Nas is the reason that rappers went from having an what he called an animated flow to a smoother, more laid back flow. And it's funny because I've thought about this a lot. I didn't think about it in the context of Nas, but I never heard anyone talk about the change that rappers went through when they changed from really kind of animated, energetic is what I used to call it, delivery to a much more laid back, quiet, smooth, whatever you want to call it, delivery. So I noticed that this happened in the 90s, right? I noticed that this happened somewhere between like 91 and 94, maybe 95. So I saw this thread, and a lot of people were saying, dude, it wasn't Nas, it was Rakim. I think the post was kind of trolly. I think it was trollish. I think that the kid really did mean to bring up something that he noticed, but I think he was also kind of asking for opinions. I think he wanted to know more about it, but his ego wouldn't let him because every response was really nasty and and defensive, and I feel like it was the kind of thing where like, oh, this is something I noticed. Did anyone else notice it? What do you think? But he wanted to come from a place of knowledge and maybe also just wanted to like get that type of engagement and do those things that I don't know about when it comes to, online content creation. So he just kind of put it out there. But yeah, it's something I've thought about a lot because it's funny because I was thinking about Biggie, and I was thinking about how early on he rapped in that way that was, when I say early on, I'm talking about like 91, 92, when you first heard him in like Party and Bullshit and Dolly My Baby and stuff like that. And it was that flow that was really common in New York rap at the time. It was almost like a Lords of the Underground kind of, they called it the underground flow, and I got my, I'm rolling with my gat in my lap. You don't want to see my, it was that kind of thing, and you could even picture them doing this with their hands, and this is how people rapped at that time. You could think of Hit Squad, you can think of it was the way, there's always a way people are rapping at any time. So and then a few years later, you can hear it on his debut, you can hear him on the title track, and then you hear him on like, you hear him on that or Machine Gun Funk or whatever, and then you hear him on Big Papa, and you can hear like which songs were probably made earlier in the process, and it was literally while that was changing in hip hop. So you would hear rappers have that kind of, you can think back to Onyx, a lot of these rappers who had that kind of flow early, in the early 90s, and then by the midish 90s that changed. So the kid said he attributes it to Nas, and that sounds like someone who wasn't old enough at the time. Like he could have been listening to rap then, I don't know, but wasn't of a certain age to have a lot to compare it to before that. Because I don't even have to really go back to Rakim. I mean, you have Guru, it was just like there were other rappers, but instead of focusing on like who had a calm flow, I'm more thinking about rappers who had both and decided to kind of marginalize their energetic flow and start prioritizing the more calm flow. So he acknowledged Nas. He acknowledged Rakim a lot, but like I'm saying, he didn't mention other people. So I don't think he had the knowledge of it. But it is interesting because what you notice is all of the rappers, at that time, even if you listen to people who are known for being laid back, their flow got more laid back. Even Snoop, if you listen to Snoop from like his earliest to to some years later, to late 90s, even he got even more laid back, even he got even. So it's just something that I thought about. And by 95, who I thought was very influential in that also, Buckshot. From Who Got the Props to like I Got You Open, way different. And there was actually an article or podcast or something that I read or watched where someone mentioned Buckshot being like the person who really popularized that, or maybe he was saying he heard that that's what people were doing, so he decided to, come with a more laid back flow. But anyway, at a certain point, that more energetic flow kind of got played out. It kind of made you sound old school, so by the time you had 95, 96, all of the most popular rappers were much more laid back, especially East Coast, Jay-Z, Mob, you can just go on and on, and you can see people change from the energetic to the smoother. But what I found more interesting after I started thinking about it, I replied to dude's thread and he probably cursed me out. But what I found more interesting is that when you think about it, all of the most legendary rappers always had a really viable, energetic and animated flow, and then a really viable, smooth, kind of calmer flow. And when I say viable, I mean one that they knew how to use commercially, like one that they were like, this is what I'm going to use on this type of song, this is what I'm going to use on this type of song, and I'm gonna perfect both, and that's gonna be my specific kind of energetic flow, my specific kind of laid back calm flow. So everybody did. I mean, go back to Big Daddy Kane. If you listen to him, Big Daddy Kane was never like the kind who shouted, right? But if you listen to like Just Rhyming with Biz, he's very it's more animated, and of course when he did his fast rapping stuff, when you think of Raw, Set It Off or whatever, and then you think of him sounding more smooth on like Smooth Operator. Then rappers even have a mid kind of flow, but a midway, in energy flow. But I think when I think of the master of this, I think of LL Cool J, because you can really hear in your mind, if I say to you, think of I'm Bad, right? And you can hear the energy. Even think of, his faster songs, like the one he did when he dissed Cannabis, The Ripper Strikes Back, right? And stuff like this, and 4 3 2 1. Like you hear, like LL has a classic energetic flow, and energetic delivery. I mean, radio, but he also has a very classic laid back calm flow, going back to Cali, Hey Lover, Pink Cookies in a Plastic Bag. He was a master at that. And I think a lot of rappers probably took that element from LL Cool J. He probably wasn't the first. I know it's older people than me who are probably like, look, it was this person, that person. But I wouldn't be surprised, because I know LL kind of set the standard for you having to appealing to the dudes and appealing to the ladies, right? And your ability to alter that delivery is one of the things that makes it like that. Now, you don't always have to have a soft kind of laid back flow when you're making a song for the women. That's a little too simplistic. Hot in Here is a very energetic flow, energetic delivery, and that's it's a commercial song. It's a song for the ladies, but generally, a song for the ladies is when a guy's gonna kind of make his flow a little more laid back and a little soft. Now, everybody doesn't master that. Someone I felt didn't master that. No, I'm thinking of an example. That doesn't mean he didn't master it, but Fabulous, right? Fabulous always had like a laid back flow, right? They compared him to Mace. But in that song he did with Tamia, was it called So Into You or whatever? You can tell he purposely was like, I'm gonna deliver this really, really laid back. It's a huge hit, so F what I'm saying. But I felt it wasn't a comfortable delivery. Whereas LL's was very comfortable, and it should be. He was rapping for 15 years before Fab, dropped that song, probably 20 years. But yeah, some rappers are just, some didn't develop theirs until much later. Like Buster is known for that energetic delivery, right? But he also has calm, laid back one, like in that song with Mariah Carey, right? Give It to Me. I think that's the name of it. You know, and he's Buster, so he's a master at delivery, so he can do, he can do both. Um, and I think every rapper who's like a legend was able to do that. Name anyone. Jay had songs at his peak where he would like, it was almost like he's shouting, but it's a controlled kind of shouting, but then also like a really kind of laid back, almost talking kind of way. See, and that's the thing, like, depending on what you're known for, your laid back, calm delivery is different than someone else's. Some like DMX would have like his energetic delivery literally sounds like he's shouting at you, through a megaphone. It's aggressive and almost violent. But his laid back flow is what's the word for it? If you think of the type of games that being played, how's it going down? Song till it's on, then I got to know now. It's rugged. It's not like other rappers who almost sound like they're whispering into the microphone. But it's his laid back flow, which is dope. And everybody did it. Pac did it. And my other point is that it still happens now. Drake does it, Future does it, of course Nicki does it, Kendrick does it. It's so yeah, it's just an interesting thing. And for the rappers, guys who and girls who rap now, who are just rap as a hobby or rap independently, underground, whatever you want to call it, like I do. How do you feel about your different deliveries? I've always been more comfortable, not really with either. I was never really comfortable when I felt like I had to shout into the mic, which is how I used to feel early on when we used to record seriously. And I definitely didn't feel very comfortable trying to create my calm flow, because my version of it was not authentic. And then one time I was coached through it by this, interestingly enough, this kid from Sweden, came and did a record with me. And he was like, say it like this. He was like, say it. And I didn't really trust it until I did it. And, I was like, oh, okay, which was pretty dope. And now, I trust that more. But yeah, sometimes you got to think about when to bring that delivery out, and why, and what makes you comfortable doing that. For the rappers, maybe even the singers, I don't know, how do you choose which delivery, how energetic your delivery is going to be, and how is that process? What are you more comfortable doing? Do you always choose a calm, laid back flow on a slow beat? Do you always choose a more energetic flow on a fast beat? If the song is about something, if it's about like something that's more conscious activism kind of stuff, is that always an energetic flow? If the song is maybe about something more emotional and the like romantic side of things, is that always a calm flow? If it's funny, which one is it? Like what determines that? I know there are a lot of things that determine it. Anyway, rap nerd stuff, Rod doing Rod. Y'all be cool. Peace.